Yeah, all right. I think the next guest we're bringing on our wonderful Gelu Channel 1 Healingstat. Going to talk about some nice BFA PvP tournaments. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Hello, friends.
You're like,
How you
Geezer.
doing?
We're straight
That's
in.
the-
I thought we were gonna be. I thought we were gonna have a little like video or something, but nope, straight in. Good stuff. Welcome in, guys.
Thanks.
Yep. There's 4 Brits on this desk. Are you feeling a little overwhelmed here, Chanimal?
Sandwich in as well.
Sketchy.
Yeah.
Sketchy.
I mean, this guy's been in Britain before. He's an honorary Brit for this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Australian's close enough anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. The first thing I kind of want to touch on is obviously, so this topic is, AWC and tournaments. So AWC brought something completely new to WoW. Normally in general, Healingstat might tell me I'm wrong here, but it's normally double eliminations in, big WoW competitions, right? Previous to AWC?
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously now
there's
it's
been
round.
a couple of times where we've had ladders on things like the tournament realms in some of the years when you think way back, 6, 7 years. But predominantly it's been double elimination through and through. So this was definitely a big change up this previous year.
Yeah, so the round robin system, which is basically every team plays every other team twice, and then from there you go into the double elimination tournament at the end. Chanimal and Gelu, you had to play through this. How did it feel? What do you think? Did you prefer this system?
Do you want to start off,
I
Gilly?
preferred this. I thought it was a really good system. You didn't have to RNG your way through a bracket. And sometimes you just face the same team over and over again. If they counter you, you just get absolutely banged out, and it's a bit unfortunate. So this was way more balanced. I like this a lot.
Yeah, something that's kind of backed up by that is right. Obviously, Cloud9, Mr. Chanimal over here, you had a very successful round robin season, and obviously the double elimination went far worse than the round robin for you. What do you think about that? The difference?
To be honest, I don't really care if it's round robin or double elimination. Obviously, round robin I think rewards consistency. I think we didn't do so well in a double elim because other teams got better, but it was fun because it was like something different. We've been doing double elim for years on years now, so round robin. It's the first time it's been done in a really really long time, I believe. So, it's something new, something to spice it up a little bit. So I had fun.
Yeah,
That I think. Sorry, I was just going to jump in and say something that I think is great about that round robin element to things is you do get to see. Obviously, people are so passionate, and chat. I'm sure you can back me up on this. Chat is so passionate about supporting their teams and seeing them be able to face off. That maybe their 2 favorite teams or something in a situation where otherwise they wouldn't have been able to. I think that's really great that you do get that, like you say, just everyone being able to play everyone. You get to see those matchups that you really want to see this team face against this other team, and I think that's a really cool element to it. But do you guys think that's based on the fact that obviously this has been an online tournament this time around? And obviously if we had to physically fly every team in every weekend to a certain location, do you think it's the limitations? Well, I say the limitations of being online that have actually allowed for this type of competition format?
Yeah, definitely. If they're flying us out to do an AWC with a round robin format, it's going to cost them a lot more. Just the playtime of the games, we had 8 broadcast days, I think, for round robin, whereas for regular double elim, it's just 2 broadcast days. So I definitely think online is the reason why it was done, and I'm glad they did try it because it's like I said, it's something new. But I don't think they would ever do this in an offline format.
What do you think, Healingstat? How do you think it? Do you think it was a success, the round robin format?
Well, as a fan, I really enjoyed it. Obviously, I'm not as good as these guys anymore. They would destroy me these days. But I still really enjoy watching the games.
Man.
Well, I had a couple of wins against Channel last day of the season, so I guess I'll take them. But going back to the question, I think my favorite thing of the round robin, and it's curious to hear how the competitors talk about it as well, is just how high stakes an individual game becomes. Because when you have the double elimination cups, you see the same matchups kind of over and over. The top teams always play against each other, sometimes twice in a single weekend. But now when you have that one game, Cloud9 versus Golden Guardians or the Jungle Mirrors in Europe, that is the one time those two teams meet against each other. So the stakes and the pride feel really, really high, which I think from viewer perspective is really, really fun.
Yeah, I think as you said, the jungle mirrors, what the Hydra versus Enlight was.
Yeah, it was such a good series.
It was incredible, and obviously, as you said, it would never happen in Double Elim. So it's yeah, I mean, obviously, it's kind of crazy how this system worked for that. Do you think your preparations were any different, Gelu Channel?
Yeah, I mean, we prepared like week on week against what comps we were going to face, whereas usually we'd just practice into you'd practice into what you face. Obviously, there's more practice this time, like specific things.
Yeah,
it definitely took a week by week approach.
Did you try and find teams? Did you try and find teams to scrim against that played the same comp? Or...
We were wargaming like US teams a lot more, rather than like just EU teams as well.
Yeah, I guess that helps. It's obviously how is it like actually wargaming versus teams from the other region? I mean, do you all have like a pretty good relationship? You must do if you're finding war games weekly.
Usually it's like a trade. Sorry, Gelu. It's usually like a trading kind of thing. So, for example, if Exet was facing Diabolus the following week, they would want to war game against us to try and get practice, and we would only accept that if we could get something in return. Obviously, like a practice insert match we're having the following weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you have a lot of trades going on? With all
a lot of trading, yep.
Yeah.
Not many. To be honest, not a lot of the European teams practice.
Yeah. What Healingstat said.
We played the most against Exet, but we also wargamed Gelu's team, and Wildcard, and Enlight. And those were the only teams we faced, I think.
Did you wargame against any NA teams?
Yeah, we did. Only during the round robin, we wargamed like all of them, I think. But in the double elimination, we only wargamed M2KC. And I think we gave them too much practice, maybe. Yeah,
maybe that didn't work out so well in the end. That was actually a surprise, seeing M2KC win. Obviously, I think anyone would have said, Cloud9 was going to win going into it. But obviously, again, as you said, the double elimination kind of sets that up, right? Sets you up for upsets. Yeah, something else that's interesting, that's so different to PvE, right? So, obviously, Cloud9, so you play Warlock, you play with a Mage, and then Snuts, who can play a few classes, and then obviously a healer who can play a few classes, right? You're effectively a one-trick pony in that team, right? You are the Warlock player.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's something that's... Do you like that about PvP, that, you can basically stay on your class no matter what, like, for example, Mythic Plus, right? You have a tank who will play all the tanks. All the DPS will all play rogues. They'll all play, Windwalkers. They'll all play hunters. Everyone will play DKs because you have to. What do you think the difference is, and why do you think it allows for that in PvP to be one-trick ponies?
I don't think you really during BFA, I was able to do this one trick, just Warlock the whole time. But I think it's also very meta dependent, and I think in M+, it's a little bit different because I'm going to get a little bit of flame for this, but I think playing another class at tournament level is way harder than in M+. Because, I
think most would agree.
You're going to get the rain on you for that one now. You're going to have all the PvE. They're going to slide into your DM.
I think for sure it is way harder. It is way harder. But, playing like another class at the same level as Warlock is going to take me a lot of time. And it was working for us, so, in PvP, sometimes it's just like the meta is in your favor, and in this expansion it was,
there's not many PvP teams that have a lot of flexibility. There are some, right? You take Exet, they were the jack of all trades. They could pull out any comp any day, and, you had to work around carrying that. Whereas, obviously, the jungle teams, they all played one comp. Obviously, I assume you think it's better, right, Gelu Chanimal, to have this variety of comps to whip out.
It's better to have variety of comps if people can't just counterpick you every single time. Even if you don't actually play like the alt comps, then if people think that you're going to play it, then they won't just like rock, paper, scissors you every single time. Which is why we played a bunch of other stuff, then we ended up ultimately just won on lock mage every time. But people wouldn't only like pick into us thinking we were going to play MLP. So we played like Ellie Mage and other stuff like that.
So do you think it's dangerous to try
Go on. I was going to say, going back to the circuit format, that's one of the cool things as well, right? Because Chan said this earlier. If you have double elimination, or maybe it was Kelly, I think Kelly said this actually, that if you have double elimination, sometimes you just go up against that rock that you can't beat twice in your bracket, and it's like that's a tough pill to swallow. But in the circuit, you've got the consistency all the way through. You know, you can have those bad matchups, you can have those good matchups, and then if you've got a four player roster, like someone like Snuts on your team, who just, you know, he's the Shadow Priest now because Shadow Priest doing flipping awesome in the pre-patch. That's the sort of awesome thing to have. But then it allows everyone else to be a little bit more focused on their main classes, which it seems like it's really nice for some of these squads. Like they seem to have like one or two people who do a lot of the multi-classing, and then some other people who just focus on the main classes, from what I see at least.
I mean, it's interesting that healers are basically forced to multi-class, right? I mean, except for the jungle teams, I think pretty much every other team, you know, you had to play a Holy Paladin now, and earlier into the season, you know, most people wanted to play a Mistweaver. I mean, that's just how it is, I guess, right? Is that healers will always have to be the multi-classer, or one of. Do you think it's dangerous to kind of go down this thing of counter-comping? Because obviously, as you said, Gelu, you ended up winning a lot of comps as Mage Lord Paladin, right?
Yeah.
And I think you tried to counter some with bringing Jamie in, and then it didn't work as well. Do you think it's like dangerous sometimes to try and counter when you're, you know, you think you're a lot better with one comp? What do you think is the risks behind?
Well, particularly this season it was, because Drestigath was so punishing. So when Jamie went on his rogue to play Aram Pala, and then he just gets one banged by Dress, you're like, all right. Yeah. It makes it really hard to do that sort of thing. So you have to be as good as you need to be to counter the comp, though. So if you're playing like a really one-sided matchup, I think it's fine. If you're playing a matchup that's like 50-50, you might as well play your main comp, I think, depending how practiced you are on your ult.
So because of this counter-comping, obviously a lot of that stems from, you know, the blind pick being first, and then obviously, you can counter-comp. Do you think that this system is like fine, having the blind pick often decide a lot of the games? Not that I can see an alternative, but yeah. I mean, I find that a lot of the games I watch, you know, the blind pick a lot of the time just decides the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, the only alternative would be like pick and ban, right?
I don't know if I'd like a pick and ban system or like a draft system in WoW, just because of like how the game is. I feel like if you had a draft system, you'd end up with some really wacky comps that just wouldn't be realistic, high-level gameplay at all. So I think like the blind pick system is like the best they can do. But I would like to see Blizzard try to balance the game, so that
just balance.
You don't just get counter comps, right? I mean, obviously, but like, do you know what I mean? I think it's really bad that counter comping is so. Well, more so the fact that like if you're facing a team on ults that is a counter comp, it is literally just impossible to win in a lot of matchups. So if they could somehow like, I don't know, make it harder to play ults or like increase the skill cap so that if you're on your main, you can still outskill the opponents on their counter comp, then that would be better. But obviously that's really hard, and yeah, I don't really know.
I feel like that's a trade-off in many games, though. Like that aspect of how do I have a finite amount of practice time. How do I split that? And I feel like that is where you can separate good players from, you know, or great players from the very best players, is those that are able to kind of play something maybe 90% power of their main compared to somebody else who plays it at 60% power. I feel like having that element in a game is good. Because, like you say, if you only have to, I don't know, play a warlock and just learn how to chaos bolt, then like you can just put all your time into that, and you're going to get really good at it in theory. So, yeah, I think it could be good to have that.
What do you think about that?
I definitely agree that like playing ults and stuff is like definitely important, especially in like competitive pro play. I just wish that it was not so punishing if you just face like a hard counter comp. Even like with enemies on triple ults, for example, it's just the worst feeling in the world. And I wish that they could increase the skill cap so that if, I'm facing a counter comp and I play really well, I can overcome that obstacle. But I feel like currently in WoW, it's just not really possible.
Is that skill cap in what sense? Skill cap in terms of like, I guess from a utility standpoint and like reading your opponent, or from like a DPS execute, like a mechanical DPS execution, like executing your rotation in a sense better?
More like increase, like I think the limitations of the class is just why you can't like beat the counter comp, for example. I don't know what they could add, like more utility, more like difficult rotation to do, and such, so that it would be harder for the enemy to play ults as well. Stuff like that, because honestly, it's so easy to do damage in PvP, like so easy. And if you can't do damage, there's no way you're losing to a counter comp when people are on ults, right? So something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that one thing that's always interesting in this discussion is the pacing of the game, because Gelu talked about it with Jamie. The biggest reason they wouldn't bring Jamie out on Rogue is because of things like Dressed right, which like can change the pace of the game in a split second. Both people Dressed and it can one-shot. I'm curious, Chanimal, like when it comes to, obviously the pacing at the end of BFA was quite slow, there was a lot of dampening. And now in pre-patch we have a very fast game. Not always, I've seen some 3 games going slower, but typically the games are faster. Do you think that also kind of helps to boost the skill cap and make it more difficult for people to react on alt classes?
Yeah, definitely. The faster the game is, generally speaking, the better it is for the better players, because they can. So when the game is slow and you face a player who isn't so great, it can still be difficult to kill them if they're playing a counter comp. An example of this is back in like season 2 or something. I played DK for 2 days into Jamili's RM Pally, and we actually beat them playing DHDK. And the reason for that was because the game was so slow that even though I was playing on an ult that I was really uncomfortable on, I was able to think during the game and completely counter comp him. If the game was way faster, I would have died instantly, despite,
Out of interest then, so obviously you guys are coming from a player's perspective. From a viewer perspective, do you think this more complex style gameplay would be better for them to follow along? Because I know, obviously, it's a constant iteration of the UI and things to make it a better viewer experience. Do you think this would be better, ultimately, for the viewer?
I think if there was more sound cues in the UI and more like global following on the UI, then but as it is, it's kind of hard to follow like niche plays that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at the UI right now, it's just health goes down or up, and it's like, okay, that's good. And then there's 15 minutes, and it's like, oh, this blue bar's gone.
Yeah,
this green bar's
interesting.
gone.
When you used to watch like WoW tournaments, right, you could see cast bars and stuff like that. And obviously it was a lot easier to follow along. I do understand, obviously, that it makes it far more accessible, the current UI. If you're a seasoned expert, sure, you want to be able to see all these small little niche things. But I do think for viewership that it kind of makes sense to have it how it is. Even if, I would prefer it the other way. But yeah, I guess that's just something that, comes up to Blizzard. But yeah.
I will say on this topic, something that's fun I recommend you guys do is go play a couple of spectated skirmishes on beta. There's some fun stuff on there right now.
Oh,
yeah. That's my little nugget.
Okay. So there's some changes maybe. That's very interesting.
Spectator skirmishes.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are those?
Yeah, what's that about?
Oh, not skirmishes, sorry. Just like spectated war games, like how you do tournament games right now. If you do them on beta, it's quite fun to see.
Ah.
Gelly's gonna have to go research that. He's very interested, aren't you? Gelly's gonna be adding to his caster career now, practicing.
I'm casting my own games on beta.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant polymorph by the man.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard some good. To be honest, you do kind of commentate over your games already, don't you? I've seen some nice hasty Greater Pyro commentary recently.
Oh, not anymore. It's a 15-second cooldown. There's no haste stamps.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit different now.
I'm going to be the only man playing the BFA private server, so I can do 1 second G-Pies.
Well, so you can have your 1 second G-Pies and 1 second Great Heals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what those things are. I don't think they exist. Well, I think that more or less wraps us up on this section. Do we have anyone that's leaving us from this? I think Healingstat, that's you, right? And Chanimal.
Wonderful Chanimal. Yeah. Chanimal's very excited.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. It was fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming along.
Thanks for being here, guys.
I spent most of the podcast mesmerized by those beautiful microphones and how they change colors. So.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good observation.
They are actually pretty great. They're changing all the time, you know. Much like the WoW Freeze Meter.
Yep, there you go.
Can I enter into the giveaway?
Can you enter the giveaway? I think so.
Yeah.
You can enter the giveaway.
Who's going to stop you?
Yeah. If you're in Europe, which I think you live in France, right? So
yeah, I do.
Yeah, maybe you will win a high prize.
That's part of the EU, so I think you should be fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
For now.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming along.
Yep. Have fun with the rest of the show.
Have a good night. Have a good show.
See you later.
See you.